All right, welcome everyone to the Policy Council meeting of March in 2021. I want to begin these meetings with some brief remarks about the college and want to continue that as a tradition here at Policy Council. It's not something that we've done before, but I think particularly since we're coming back into reentry and that's on the horizon, we want to add some opportunity to talk and dialogue about these larger issues. As I mentioned in a general communication to the community, I just want to note, I want to encourage people to get vaccinated and note that the rules here in New York have changed recently and that all New Yorkers aged 50 and above are now eligible. And I want to mention that we're hard at work preparing for return to the campus. We're doing space assessment, we're doing air quality assessment, capacity assessment across the campus. That work proceeds. We're also on the basis of our best guess in terms of the trajectory of the pandemic, the vaccinations, and the social conditions that attach to both. We are expecting that it is likely that some form of social distancing will continue through some or all of the fall semester, and that of course impacts how we use the space, can use the space, what the capacity limits are for the space. And it is likely as a result that there's going to be a mixture of in-person and online and hybrid courses. We will continue to receive mandates from, I am predicting, from the state, the city, from CUNY, possibly from the federal CDC. We will have to abide by those, and we will have to be able to be flexible and pivot if necessary to change, for instance, the modality of the class that is delivered, the social distancing mandates on the campus, the capacity on the campus, et cetera. We may be getting additional information and mandates from other entities, and I just want us to be aware of that and flexible as we proceed through the spring and summer. I just wanted to mention something that I have mentioned before, but I think it's relevant here. We expect to receive a remote work policy that has been negotiated carefully at the central office and elsewhere. This is going to help shed some light on which staff would be coming back in the fall, which departments may be, which offices may be open, what are the circumstances in which staff would be able to continue or begin to work from home. And this is of enormous importance to the staff at the college, and we'll continue to talk to staff about that as we receive that policy from the central office. We're also looking at something called the Campus Reentry Plan. It's available on the website now. It was drafted, a year ago, pretty much. Right now. So it approaches these issues slightly differently in the process of reviewing what we said at the time and trying to anticipate the new circumstances that we're going to face over the summer and fall. We are in the process of looking through that, consulting first with the Reentry Review Board, which includes research faculty on the campus. It includes representatives of the PSC union. It includes environmental health and safety leadership, as well as facilities leadership on the campus and the academic and fiscal leadership of the campus. We're also going to consult more broadly than that with faculty leadership, with student leadership, and with staff leadership. The timeline for the revision of this campus reentry plan, we're now looking at the 1st of June. So it will be through the course of the rest of the spring. We'll be aiming toward the 1st of June to have a published on our website new campus reentry plan that will be updated essentially from what we knew and understood the situation to be a year ago. Nevertheless, we're continuing to limit occupancy on campus, follow strict safety guidelines for COVID protocols, have increased cleaning, and very much regulate who's allowed to be on campus. As you know, not much is open on campus right now. It remains only open for those things that are specifically authorized by the Reentry Review Board. That's likely to continue through the spring and the summer. We also, I just want to mention, you've probably seen, we've circulated a short anonymous survey to understand the concerns and distance concerns. Actually, I'm looking at a comment in the chat. It is 3 feet social distance for K-12, but that's not for, at least right now, authorized for adults. In the college setting, we'll continue to monitor that. They may change over the course of the spring and into the summer. But we are interested in getting your feedback. This remains a time of great uncertainty, and it will probably continue to do so, continue to be a time of great uncertainty. We're going to have to be flexible, and we understand and appreciate that is a challenge for all of us, particularly the students, but also for faculty and staff, obviously. And health and safety of our community will remain paramount. So I just wanted to make those initial remarks and see if there were questions or comments. All right. Please feel free to ask questions and comments here or elsewhere. I consider members of Policy Council leaders who do have direct access and can make comments to me. Please feel free to. We're going to turn to the formal agenda at this time. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 24th?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
See, Yedidia's hands is up, so I'll write Jennifer motions and Yedidia seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will, are there comments or corrections to the minutes from February? Hearing none, is there, actually, do we have, Zunera, can we do a quick poll on this?
Just ask if anyone denies it, if anyone's opposed.
We're gonna, yeah, we'll do, Zunera, you should prepare a poll for the thing that we do need to formally vote on, the faculty council, or rather the proposed amendment on the policy council bylaws. But for now, with the minutes of February 24th, is there anyone who abstains or opposes? Okay, the minutes pass unanimously. Just wanted to provide an opportunity. I had taken to this committee the fact that the university was not going to have a credit, no credit policy this semester, and that I turned that over to the faculty council for the question of whether or not the faculty council itself wished to revise its own pass-fail policy. You want to report out on that?
Correct. So I just want to correct the agenda. The faculty council decision on pass-fail, not on CRNC, that was not considered by faculty council because Community Central made that decision for us. So I sent the question of the pass-fail policy, which is in both the bulletin, graduate and undergraduate. I sent it to the 2 faculty council committees that deal with the general guidelines for degree requirements. I sent them the student comments that I received in writing. They were forwarded as well. The committees both considered it and felt that the policy that is in the bulletin now is appropriate, and they did not wish to change it. And that is what it is.
Thanks for that report out. Just this is just by way of information, because this committee dealt with the issue the prior semester and wanted to report out how it was being dealt with this semester. We will make the correction to the agenda on 2, that it would be the update on the faculty council decision on pass-fail rather than credit, no credit. Thank you for that correction. There is a proposed amendment to our bylaws as a body. That proposed amendment comes from the Governance Committee. Tony, would you like to report out from the Governance Committee?
Tammy's acting chair. She'll be reporting out.
My apologies. Tammy, would you like to report out?
Sure, thank you. So I just want to remind everyone that we had a lot of discussion over this question last time as to where proposed policies should go for policy council. And we discussed whether there should be a new committee that looked at policy, or whether the question of who vets the policies could be put into the governance committee. This body felt that there was a proliferation of committees and that we should expand the governance committee to be a governance and policy committee. So our committee met and we added language to the governance committee's charge, and we sent that out. And so the proposed language would be to change the governance committee to a governance and policy committee. And you can see in what Zunera sent you, we just made updates to that paragraph so that everywhere that it says governance committee, we added and policy, and so I can share my screen if people don't have access to that, or we could just move forward with voting on it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Let's pause for a moment and ask if there are questions or comments about this matter from the body. It is a very straightforward change to the governance committee. So then rather than showing it on the screen, it just says governance and policy every time governance shows up. So are there questions or comments about this? Anybody? All right. It has been proposed from a committee to the full body, and there are no comments or questions. Zunera, can you initiate a poll for this matter?
Yes, I will.
Only if you're a member of Policy Council should you vote. Otherwise, just close the poll in front of you when it's launched. Any luck, Zunera?
Yes.
Great. Everybody have the opportunity to vote. If you're a member of Policy Council, Zunera, you want to tell us what the...
There's one person that did not vote, but let me know when you're ready for me to close the poll.
Last person who has not voted, please vote. If it's in front of you and you're a member of Policy Council, please vote. All right, Zunera, let's see what the record is.
Okay, so 29 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 person abstained.
Thank you very much. That proposed committee change to the bylaws passes. We're now going to pivot to committee report outs. I understand that the Facilities Committee met. Alan?
One thing.
Sure.
You have to approve it now. You know now that you have to approve all changes.
That's true.
Go to the Board of Trustees before it goes into effect.
Yes. This one is a change to the Policy Council bylaws, not to the Governance Committee or not to the governance documents of Brooklyn College. Tony, does that have to go to the Board of Trustees?
No, it does not.
Yeah, I didn't think it did.
Okay.
These are internal bylaws rather than the governance structure of the college, which needs to go to the board. So I will share with you that I approve of this change. And so we will implement it and change our own bylaws. So let's turn to thank you, Tony. Let's turn to the committee reports. Understand, Alan, that the facilities committee has met and you may have a report out for us.
Yeah, it's actually fiscal infrastructure and planning.
Oh,
There was a consolidation of years ago of 3 committees into one as we tried to be efficient. So we
fiscal
met.
infrastructure and planning. Great.
Yes, FIP. So we met this week. It seems like a while ago, but it's been the weeks go on. But we met early this week. We had a very, I think, productive and then informed discussion. 3 topics to report out on. We discussed in the meeting, which was one of the big agenda items for our committee at the start of the semester, the fall semester, the all gender bathrooms project. It's this policy council actually endorsed that project. All the signage is completed that we needed to get completed on campus. We are currently waiting to schedule a meeting with the outside consultants for our restrooms to help us define and look at code to see what options are available to us to move forward. The university manages capital projects. They're working with this vendor to schedule an appointment with myself and with the our facilities team. We've also been working with Ivania Bologna from Anthony Brown's office on diversity and equity in terms of Title IX guidelines. And she's been invaluable in terms of the legal aspect of all that we're doing. So we are making progress. I'm hoping for the next meeting, we could report out on our meeting with the consultants and next steps, because we are still committed to provide at least one multi-stall all gender bathroom in every building on the campus by the time we return to campus, which is looking more and more promising every day, which goes into the next topic we discussed. We spoke about reentry and the facility. The president highlighted a lot of the things that we spoke about earlier this week. The one thing I wanted to add, today I was at a meeting with all the finance VPs and the facilities, AVPs and teams. We had 3 representatives, including myself, our head of facilities planning, engineering, and environmental health and safety. The university scheduled this meeting last minute. They've just engaged and hired a consultant that focuses on ventilation to work with all the campuses, because we were all, CUNY was helping us. Everybody was sort of going in a very different direction. We were given a template to complete, in the next couple of days. We have already collected that information and then some. This will help the university prioritize across all the campuses using one standard versus everybody doing their own thing. We are working on that. The university said that there'll be a follow-up meeting in a week or 2 once they get everybody's responses. This is in addition to all the work we're doing internally. So we're getting very optimistic that there will be support for us from the university, and we could make the improvements that are needed when we return to campus. This does not impact, which we're very clear on, mask policy and social distancing policy are separate matters. This is about improving the ventilation up to standards to make sure that every room is as good as possible for when we return. I will certainly provide updates to this group and many other groups. It's obviously one of our top priorities, but it's definitely exciting news, and I'm looking forward to when we can have this meeting in person, because I think I see it at the end of that tunnel. So that's on the facility side. The other topic, which is obviously of a main concern to everybody, is our budget and the stimulus money coming in. In terms of the budget, we're doing, tomorrow, Michael Lanzer, our budget director, myself, a meeting with the students to review our financial plan. This normally happens in the late summer, early fall. We are meeting with Mark Holbrook and the Master Planning Committee on Monday. The university calls a consultation, as Mobina and I say, it's a discussion, because we have no time to really consult at this point, but we need to consult more throughout the process. Now that we finally have some guidance from the university of what our budget looks like for this fiscal year, we need to put in this financial plan. We know every campus has had challenges, and reductions. The financial plan will highlight the reductions that we've had and help the university plan for next steps in terms of helping every campus balance their budget accordingly in these very challenging times. The other key thing that's obviously on everybody's radar is stimulus money. And what that means, I participated in a webinar today from NACUBO. That's the National Organization of College and University Business Officers. They're short webinars, but they have it frequently. The news from this webinar is the federal government has taken the approach now. They're consolidating all stimulus packages under one umbrella. And when those of you came to my presentation, the president and myself did on the town hall, the CARES was called HERF 1, CRISA was called HERF 2. Now we have the new ARPA, Americans Recovery Plan Act, which would be HERF 3. That's all now consolidated into HERF. There's going to be one set of policies and processes related to whatever's left over. And the good news is, as new plans get approved, hopefully things are better and ARPA is the last one and we don't have further damage. The date that we have to spend the money is 1 year from the date of the last plan that's being approved and implemented and we receive money for. So that gives us far more flexibility than we had before, and we don't have to rush to spend money. Right now we are waiting for the university to get back to us on how to operationalize everything. This appears to be more flexible. We've not had, the detailed guidance from the university we will need. The focus now is to get our quarterly report out to the university and the federal government. It's due April 5th to the university, April 15th to the federal government. In terms of reporting our expenses we did from January 1st to March 31st. At this point, unfortunately, we've not received 1 penny from our prior submissions of our expenses from March 13, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, even though we spent well over $1 million. I am hoping to report out to this group and many other groups that we have received this money at some point soon, but we are moving forward. The other thing I would add, we've done a lot of amazing projects with the money we have received thus far. We've allocated well over $1 million of our $9 million institutional portion to academic affairs for many initiatives that the provost is administering. We've given over $900,000 to students who took winter classes for their educational expenses, went directly to students, nothing against tuition. We've given money to enrollment management, in addition to the technology and safety things that we've spent as well. And I heard from the university that they're very pleased with how we've distributed the money and really focused on the core, mission of the college in light of the very restrictive first part of CARES. And we're looking forward to continue guidance on how we could spend the money moving forward.
So thanks, Alan. I know that Mobina has her hand up. I'm sure other folks might have questions. Just wanted to comment, really kudos to Alan and Anne. We are the most creative campus in terms of spending the CARES money on academic affairs and on support for the core academic project of the institution, that is classes. So I really appreciate the creativity that Alan has brought to this and look forward to hearing more from you all. Mobina?
Thank you. I just, since you have the meeting, I had a couple of questions is, do we have any news on whether or not there will be a vaccination requirement? I know this came up in our meeting, but if you have any news on that. And just like 2 points of information is, do we have a sense of what percentage of our classroom spaces or our spaces actually need to have ventilation improved before they can be used? So in other words, as things stand right now, what percentage of our space is actually usable with safety guidelines, and what percentage will need, significant improvements in order to be usable? Perhaps, so how does when you say like the university hasn't given us guidelines yet, or we're waiting for guidance from the university, how do they decide? And are they taking input from campuses? Are they getting input from, us folks in terms of making those decisions? So just sort of how sort of some of that works. And in terms of, it's great to see sort of the student support with the CARES money, but I'll just say that, you know, a lot of our adjuncts who teach more than half of our sections had to buy new computers, had to buy home office equipment, had to pay for Wi-Fi, had to make significant expenditures aside from all of the extra time, unpaid time they put in. And we really need to figure out a way of using some of that money to, you know, compensate them for those expenses. So I hope that there is a plan for that in the works. Thank you.
Thanks, Mobina. Really appreciate your comments. I'll handle some of them and pass some over to Alan.
Okay. Great.
First one is on the vaccination requirement where you began. We have no information about whether or not there will be a vaccination requirement when we come back. Let me just underscore again that everyone, when you are eligible, you should get vaccinated. It's not just going to help your loved ones and your family members, it's going to help the whole community and the Brooklyn College community in particular. We are speculating, but I would be surprised if there were a mandate. That's not to say that there might, you know, I think that would be hard. If it did come down, it would likely come from the state. But it's not something that we're expecting. The percentage of classroom space that needs ventilation, one of the interesting things when you get into the weeds on this kind of stuff is that there's not clear standards across, you know, for what's minimally required for X or Y. And so we're all trying to make it better. Right? Wherever we are right now, we're trying to make it better. We know that there are problem rooms. We know that there are great rooms, and we know that there's a vast in between. But Alan, let me let you, you know, handle more on that question.
Okay, sure. We're doing the analysis at various levels. At a building level, what's called an air handler, which is, you know, the equipment that disperses air to many rooms. And at the room level, we're doing the very detailed analysis on each of them. We've not finished as of yet. So my sense is, you know, I don't think we have any rooms that are perfect. So every room could benefit from some extra ventilation. But, you know, if it's acceptable to environmental health and safety, which many rooms are, given our social distancing, you know, we're comfortable that we can go with many of the rooms. We are focusing on the rooms where there are air handler problems, where so the exhausts are now working at 100% capacity. We've just purchased what they call MERV filters, which are sort of, you know, the main filters of all the ventilation system. You know, they go up at various levels from like MERV 8 to MERV 13 and 14. Any unit that's a MERV 8 standard and the maximum, there's a part that we could do a transition and buy a filter that's MERV 13. We've just spent over $100,000 on filters just for this first round, and we're going to have to replenish them more frequently, but the filters are really the first line of defense. Again, we're still working on the details of the rooms. You know, the analysis that we're giving to the university will help refine that even more. I'm also meeting with the chairs, and thanks to Dean Kennelly, on Friday, Visual Media Performing Arts, and we're going to talk about specifics. They sent some very helpful detailed questions, and, you know, we have a lot of positive news and some challenges we're going to have with that, but the goal is, you know, we're doing it systematically as fast as we can, and, you know, we're going to continue to report out. We're not going to use rooms that are not safe, and I saw in Sophia put a comment about opening windows. That is an option. That cannot be the only option. You know, but, you know, we obviously are going to open as many windows and doors as we possibly can, weather allowing, to further enhance ventilation. It's a multi-pronged strategy, and, you know, we're going to continue to try to do better and better at it. And in the meantime, we're going to fix, you know, systemic issues that were on the campus for decades. You know, and we're going to have an inventory that makes sense. We're working on with Aramark on a bigger, you know, facilities inventory project right before this started. This will give us further information to really have a real strategic facilities plan that is proactive and not reactive.
Thanks, Alan. Two other questions. Guidelines from the university on CRISA. My understanding, historically at least, is that the university was negotiating with the federal government on the definition of what qualified under CARES. I'm not sure what the, and with the state assumptions, I'm not sure what the plan is for CRISA. But until we receive guidance, we're certainly not authorized to spend any of it. As I understand it, there is more guidance that's going to be forthcoming on this issue. Again, we haven't seen any of the CARES money we've spent. The university spent a lot of the campus allocations on overall plans for delivering tablets and some computer devices and some other mental health issues, which we certainly appreciate, but there's not maximum flexibility at the campus level on those things. Last thing is about adjuncts.
Yeah, Michelle, can I add one thing about
Sure.
the devices?
Yeah.
In Mobina, we've reached out to people about devices from the get-go, faculty, staff, students. In the beginning, we did not have a lot of laptops, but we had the Chromebooks and iPads. Any ideas of how we could communicate better to people, in terms of, Chromebooks or other devices and MiFi? We purchased a lot of MiFi. We have this. So that was allowable under CARES. Anyone who has suggestions on how to communicate better, please reach out to me. I feel we send out stuff and it's noise because people are getting so much information. So any thoughts would be very appreciated. We have these things.
We have these things available for adjuncts as well.
Yeah, for everybody.
All right. But I do want to pause to say that we are deeply grateful to the adjuncts who have gone above and beyond during this pandemic time. They are crucial to the work that we do across the campus. They are vital to the delivery of, education to our students and to our faculty, to the whole community. And I hope we can get more of them Wi-Fi and devices where we can, it sounds like we need to communicate that better because we have those resources now available.
Okay, it's emailing devicerequest@brooklyn.cuny.edu. And any suggestions how to broadly do it, please let me know. There's some things are sitting in storage. They need to be used. We have them there.
Other questions or comments from folks? Yes, Namalanda?
Thank you. With regard to safe entry or, back to college, has there been a discussion on whether faculty can reduce class size? I know it keeps, it's floated around at most of the meetings I've been to. Or rather than reducing the class size to 20, if I have 40, maybe meet them on alternate days. But then that means I'm coming in more often than I would have otherwise. Has there been any such discussion or resolution?
Yeah, we've talked about this repeatedly in pretty much, as you said, every kind of public meeting where we talk about these issues. I think Alan talked about some space constraints. Alan, you want to discuss that?
Yeah, so the challenge we have is that if we split, right now, 6 feet social distancing for an average 25% reduction of the capacity in classrooms, give or take the classroom. If we had to increase the number of classroom spaces by 4, we don't have enough space now with 1. So we definitely have space constraints there. We are looking at something called HighFlex, working with the provost on it, which sort of gives you the best of both worlds in terms of some people on campus, some people from home. It's very expensive. It's very technical. If we get 3 or 4 of these up by the start of the fall term, that'll be a huge accomplishment. I think it's going to be more long-term. But as we look at our space, we'll have a better sense of things. Also in the sciences, and I know it's been a lot of work, but Mark could talk about it. For the labs, they've been rotating, by weeks. So every week a different group comes in, and that allows those who want to come to campus to have a lab experience. So there are options, again, the more ideas we have, the better we could work with people for options, but safety is the most important thing at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Namalanda. Anyone else? Thank you for that report, Alan.
You're welcome.
We've heard from the governance committee. We've heard from fiscal, infrastructure, and planning committee.
Yeah.
Are there other committees that met since the last meeting? Great. Ron?
Sure. So we were tasked to look at departmental orientations. Right now, we're focusing on the school-specific orientations. Those are slated to be launched on May 3rd. And then after that, we'll start looking at what the departments are doing in terms of orientating their students to the departments.
Great. So Ron's been doing terrific work trying to get new virtual orientations across the board for transfer students, for new students, for parents even, and now school specific. We've got to get all these things done this year, and then we can pivot to departmental level orientation videos. Are there questions or comments for Ron? Thank you for that, Ron. Any other committees that met? Yes, Jennifer?
Yeah, with orientation. So Ron, does that mean that we're going to be shooting for, say, a target date for fall orientations for departments? I mean, we do orientations and I think they're excellent to have. But it'd be great if there was some, if we know sooner than later, chairs, about what our target dates are to organize those.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't know that yet. It kind of goes along with the conversation about return to campus. We're not exactly sure what we're able to do. So right now, we're really just focusing on the online orientation to roll that out to all incoming students.
Right. That's what I meant was virtual. I'm assuming that it's going to be virtual, but if there's, yeah, I'll just stay tuned so that we can get our act together so that we can roll it out in the time that incoming students or transfer students would expect it to happen.
Yeah,
So
you'll have time. Right now, like, we're not even focusing on the departmental. We're just trying to make sure that we get the college level information out to the students right now. So for the departmentals, we probably won't be looking at that probably until the spring or next fall. But if you're doing something, continue to do it.
Prudence?
Hi, I just want to backtrack just a little bit to the point Alan made about, or the question Alan asked, if he had any ideas about how we could get information out to folks. Maybe just a quick fact sheet. You know, sometimes it's the information is buried in those updates, which not everyone reads as fully as they should. And so maybe if there was just sort of like a one page fact sheet on like important information for adjuncts, that where they can find, you know, the email addresses to request these technological accessories, then perhaps that would be helpful.
Oh, great. Prudence, do you think we should send it to the chairs and the chairs have it
Yes,
distributed
I
to
think
the
that,
adjuncts since they know you better than they know me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll work with Anil Lilly and our team on that. I think that's a great idea because we send the email out, but I think it gets lost in hundreds of emails. Okay, great. Thank you, Prudence.
Thanks, Prudence. Any other questions or comments? Any other committees who met or committees that met? All right. Is there any old business? I'm not aware of any, or any new business? You did, yeah.
So, in our discussion of governances of various organizations, and as I was reviewing the governance, I brought this attention to Tony Thomas as well, it seems that the Policy Council governance is lacking a clause about how to revise the governance of Policy Council. All the other bodies on campus do have, as does CUNY Central, one clause about how one goes about revising governance. I just wanted to put it out there that we're preparing something for the governance committee to look at, to hopefully bring back to this committee at some later date to be voted on, into how to actually change the governance of Policy Council, which is the most important governance of all because it's in charge of all governance on campus. So it really needs to be said very explicitly how to make those changes. Those changes shouldn't be able to be made flippantly. They should be made, you know, with all due process and making sure that long-term effects aren't ignored. So I just wanted to let the president know, and Tony knows already because I've already been discussing it with him, that we're going to be bringing something to the governance committee to look at some point. We're not rushing to do this. We don't need to meet tomorrow like we did before, but at the next governance committee, we'd like to look this over and bring it back to policy council as a whole.
Thank you very much for that note. Yadidja, Ethan?
Okay, thank you. So recently the USG has actually passed a joint resolution that is, and Aaron's going to share it in the chat over here, and it is officially, I had it pulled up, I'm sorry. Okay, it is a US resolution of appreciation, and I'll go ahead and read some parts of it. So the first part, whereas the resolution, all gender restrooms on Brooklyn College campus passed by the Policy Council on Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. And then we list it out. Resolved, the members of the undergraduate student government appreciate this resolution passed by the Policy Council on Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. And resolved, the undergraduate student government appreciates Student Representative Kyle Reese, VP Alan Gilbert, the Committee on the Fiscal Infrastructure and Planning, and the entire Brooklyn College Policy Council for their affirmative vote supporting this cause. So I just wanted to share that with you and pass that on to you guys because we really appreciate your support for that effort. So thank you so much.
Wow, I've never heard of the student government passing a gratitude resolution, and Kyle deserves it, Alan deserves it. You all are terrific. Thank you to the student government. Thank you, everyone. This is wonderful. Really appreciate that. It's heartwarming that you did that. I thank you, Ethan. Mobina, you're next. Oop, we can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Real quick, because I know folks want to go. It's just putting this out there about the Policy Council needing something to revise its own structures. Is that, you know, it's seen as sort of the one place where all parts of the community come together, sort of as administration, students, faculty. And I just want to point out that staff aren't represented on here, and they are an incredibly important part of our campus community. And I don't want to speak for them, so I don't know what the sense is, whether or not staff want to be represented on here. But I think it is, I'm ashamed to say that it took me several years to even realize that omission. But it is a significant omission, and that staff have no voice in any of our structures, not in faculty council, not in policy council, you know, so that seems like a problem.
Thank you for that comment, Mobina. In fact, the Staff Advisory Council, which we recently established, is talking about exactly these kinds of questions of where is the representation of staff. So it may circle back to us. I agree, it's not the same as official formal representation on policy council or faculty council or some other governing body of the institution. These issues may return. I appreciate your concern, and will ask those of you who are helping to serve with the Staff Advisory Council to express Mobina's sentiments and the agreement of many of you with them. There's some disagreement as well, but it's good to have a sense that people are thinking about these things. I know because some staff members have communicated it to me that some staff are actually thinking about these things and are concerned with these matters. Are there any, thank you, Tony indicates in the chat that he'll share it with them. He's helping to convene the Staff Advisory Council. Are there any other comments for new business? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved, says Yadidja. Seconded, says Sophia. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Have a safe recess.
You too. Get vaccinated, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.